Welcome back to Max Reaction. How are you doing today? Hopefully you're having a good day, a great day. I am here with my family. I get to start working in a few days. I've been off a few months because of coronavirus, so that's kind of nerve-wracking because people are not taking the virus seriously here where I live. Hence, my state has the third most cases in the United States. But that's besides all that. We're going to learn some history. What kind of history? Philippine history, of course. And this video was recommended to me. And the title is Cultural History of the Philippines. Hispanic Philippines than we admit. So, I'm not sure what that's supposed to mean. Maybe it means we're more Hispanic in the Philippines than what we would like to admit. I don't know. Let's check the video out. Let's see what we can learn. You tell me what you learned. I'll tell you what I learned. Let's do this. More Hispanic than we admit. Okay, that makes more sense. When I think Philippines, I think a lot of Spanish. You see everywhere. The buildings, a lot of the buildings look real Spanish. Like that.
Historian Arnold J. Toynbee said that the Philippines is a Latin American country that was transported to the Orient by a gigantic marine wave.
And I don't know if I agree with that or not, because the Spaniards took the Philippines over, but there was people that lived in the Philippines before the Spaniards got there. So maybe in recent history it's became, kind of an expansion of, Spaniards, but there was history long before the Spaniards got there. We all know that. We have reacted to videos on this channel that proves it.
Like many Latin American countries once colonized by Spain, the Philippines is a Hispanic country. Zapatos, reloj, vestida, ventana. These are only some remnants of Spanish colonization. Many we take for granted. Many
all the words
we don't even realize. After all, the Spanish didn't just change our speech, clothing, tools, or food. They changed our way of life. Does that mean we're Hispanic? What defines a Filipino?
Legal.
I don't really think it means you're Hispanic. I think you're part Hispanic, but you're Filipino. In my opinion.
According to the Constitution, those who are born here, what we call jus soli, the right of the land, jus parentum, the parents, jus legis, naturalization. They are Filipino, but does that mean they are Filipino to the core? We hope they are. But from the
you're all to the core.
Concrete 24-hour life, what is Filipino? What embodies Filipino?
Some may say that it is Catholicism which led to the Philippines being known as the only predominantly Catholic country in Asia.
That sounds about right. I mean, if you're mostly Catholic, then you're going to be known as a Catholic nation, If you're Christian, you're going to be known as a Christian nation. So that makes sense.
But Christianity was not the first faith to be widely practiced in the Philippine archipelago.
The major belief system has been Islamic in general, because the coming of Spain in 1521 had been antedated by the coming of Islam at least 200 or 300 years, before.
And isn't that why down in Mindanao there's so much that goes on in Mindanao? Because Mindanao, it's a bigger Muslim population. So that's why there's so many confrontations. I don't know. Fill me in. I don't know enough about it, so you can teach me.
For Magellan arrived in the Philippines, although the whole country then was not Islamized, but we could say that the major centers, especially trading centers like Manila at the time, Jolo and Maguindanao, had been Islamized.
Much of present-day Manila, in fact, was ruled by Raja Sulaiman, whose kingdom was the first major political institution established in Manila.
Wow.
Sulaiman resisted the Spaniards. His defeat proved to be the turning point for the Spanish, who came not only to convert, but to colonize.
I wish that guy would have succeeded, but, you know, I don't know if you could even wish that, because everything would be completely different. Everything would be completely different, so I don't know what the Philippines would be today, but seems like he fought a good fight, but he lost against the Spaniards. Spaniards, some bad people back then.
Once the Spanish introduced Christianity, life in the islands changed. The people who had kept to their own angkan and barangay came to live together as a community in towns centered around churches. Christian teachings also helped to do away with the practice of slavery and other native practices the Spaniards considered uncivilized.
Get rid of
the
slavery.
The Spaniards thought uncivilized was the way native women conducted themselves. Their behavior did not meet the Catholic idea of how a proper woman should be.
If we're talking about Hispanization, we're talking about a transformation, culturally speaking. And culture would encompass values, especially values.
So I'm guessing they're saying if the Spaniards wouldn't have took over, then there would have been a lot of naked people walking around for a while. I don't know how many years on in until that would have ended, but the Spaniards kind of ended, you know, the women being naked.
Meanings that the values convey, plus of course the ways of living. So we can see that women, as the ones who reared children, because they were the ones who bore the children, raised them in their early childhood, and even all the way to adulthood practically, would be the main transmitters of those values. This is also something maybe not so well considered. Women were considered, quote-unquote, a civilizing influence. Civilizing in the Spanish sense, not only of being more human, but by being more human, being more Christian.
But while Christianity transformed the natives' culture forever, Filipinos also redefined Christianity and made it their own.
Very much so in the Philippines. Everywhere you look. Everywhere you look.
For me, one dramatic way by which Christianity has been modified in the Philippines is the Good Friday procession, which is really the most important event in most Philippine towns. You know, before Christianity came, the body of the datu was kept in a coffin. It was kept in the innermost part of the house together with all the valuables. Because people believed that the datu would protect the house against intruders.
And I got a kind of a weird story about the procession, and I'm not sure what it's called. Maybe it is the procession where you're pulling statues down the street and you're holding candles and stuff. But my last, 2 trips ago over the Philippines, it may have been Good Friday, I think. And me and my buddy went out, and my wife, and we met some of our friends, and we went karaoke, and I had a little bit to drink. Well, actually a lot of it to drink. And my wife's friends left. My wife left. It was just me and my buddy and one of her brothers. And I got a cab home, and we got stuck in one of those. So I didn't know what was going on because I've never experienced it. I'm not Catholic. And we were in a cab trapped in the procession, I guess that's what it's called. And there's all these people with candles and statues and stuff, and I didn't know what the heck was going on. I didn't know what to think. Plus, I wasn't thinking clearly because I was under the influence, had a little bit to drink. Well, a lot of it to drink. So, what a quite experience. What a quite experience. Not an experience that I'm proud of, but one that I'll never forget.
Okay. Now, it's interesting that in the Philippines today, the body of the dead Christ, the statue, the Santo Entierro, as well as the Virgin Mother, and all the saints, they're kept at home and they're brought out in procession. You see, in Spain and Mexico, this is not done.
The Spaniards came not only to extend the reach of Catholicism all over the globe, but to also gain a foothold in Asia and become an international, political, and economic power. To establish the Philippines as a trade outpost, the Spaniards naturally had to change the economic system in the islands.
Before the arrival of the Spaniards, the system of exchange or the system of the economy was based on barter. This means to say that people exchange goods with other goods. So it was not uncommon for people, for example, to exchange rice with other commodities like cloth or abaca.
Right, for fruit.
Things that would be, I would say, utilitarian, something that they can use in their ordinary way of life. This, in a way, conformed to the generally communal system that was practiced in pre-Spanish Filipino society.
Image from Mexico called reales, and later pesos fuertes, circulated in the Philippines throughout the centuries of Spanish rule. The name was later adapted by the Americans into what we now know as the Philippine peso.
Philippine peso.
Religion, social norms, politics, and economy. Spain influenced not only material objects, but also more intangible things, including how we view the world.
Speaking of Filipino peso, I was cleaning my wallet out earlier, and for my last trip over, I actually found Filipino pesos in my wallet that I did not know I had. Where'd this come from? My last trip, I did not know it's been in my wallet for a year, and I did not know I had it. What
do these Hispanic influences mean for our Filipino culture?
What is Filipino national identity? As I just said, it is in the small things of life. Is it possible to be Filipino if we reject the Spanish influence? No. You cannot be Filipino if you go to work in simply bahag. You reject pantalon. You will wear ori zapatos. Those are Spanish words. And then we cannot have agriculture if we don't use the arado, again a foreign word, araro. So at that score, it's wrong to reject Spanish, Hispanic influence, and I would add Mexican.
Does that mean that we would be less Filipino if not for the Spaniards?
We have to recognize
you'd be different.
Some degree of contributions.
For sure.
Of Spain in the Hispanization of the country. But I guess we could not continuously fossilize ourselves in living in a delusion that we are Hispanic. I think we recognize that, but we have to note that the 300 years had been antedated by our legacy and heritage of our Malay and even Islamic legacy.
Just how significant did the Spanish colonization shape who we are now?
Quite a bit.
To analyze these questions further, Vibal Foundation presents More Hispanic Than We Admit, a scholarly collection of essays which explores the hybridity of Philippine culture and society. Edited by Isaac Donoso, the book contains essays by distinguished scholars, including Dr. Fernando Cialcita, Maria Svetlana T. Camacho, Julian Go, Celestina Bongkan, Resil Mojares, Julkipli Wadi, and Ambeth Ocampo.
A lot of
It
people.
also features an introduction by Father Jose Arcilla, S.J. The compendium is bookended by highly respected and eminent scholars from the two countries. Rey Ileto, author of the landmark Pasión.
All right, sounds like they're just gonna tell you about the book. So, did the Spanish change Filipinos? Well, yeah, of course they did. You know, I may be American, but my ancestors came from over in Europe. So, of course, you know, it happens to every culture, it happens to every country. When you mix different cultures in, it does change you. Does it change you for the good, the bad? I don't know. You decide. You figure it out. Let me know what you thought about the video. Let me know what you thought about what they said. What do you agree? What do you disagree with? Comment down below. Let me know. But for now, I'll see you next time. Peace.